Hello, and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Claire Downham, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt-out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode. So today, some myth busting. I love a bit of myth busting. You've probably noticed that. I'm just noticing that it's actually really hard to say myth busting without getting your teeth and your tongue kind of muddled up. So this session I've called Simple Productivity Working from Home. And I've done that because I've noticed a lot actually in the last 3 years. We're going on for 3 years now, aren't we? Since the first time we were told we had to work from home, whether we liked it or not. I've read a lot of stuff that is kind of pointing to the idea that our productivity is impacted on by where we are. And I've totally bought into that over the years. Like sometimes when I was really struggling with productivity, I would say, right, well, I'm going to go sit in a work cafe or a Starbucks or whatever, and noticing that I seemed to get more done when I was in a Starbucks or a work cafe or something like that. And so that was probably one of the other things that I tried. That is no word of a lie. I actually remember I was working with a business coach and I was doing the 12-week year planning system. I can't remember who wrote the book, but there's a book called The 12-Week Year. And the idea is that you do 12-week blocks of planning. So you plan 2 to 3 big goals for that 12 weeks. You then break it down week by week, what you can actually do. And you then, week by week, complete the tasks in the hope that by the end of that, the big goal will have been achieved. And when I ran my hypnotherapy business, I was working with a coach who kind of ran me through that process. And I remember one 12-week year block. It got to about week 2 and I hadn't even written the 12-week year plan. So I took myself off to the Santander Work Cafe. If you have a Santander Work Cafe near you, they're great actually. Nice free space for you to go and work during the day if you feel like a change of scenery, but not with the belief that you're somehow going to be magically more productive if you're there. And it's like anything else where we believe that a certain circumstance is going to change anything about us, whether we think it's going to change our productivity, our mood, our feelings, whatever it is. That's a misunderstanding really of how you work as a human being. But of course, your well, maybe not of course, but just to let you know that your clever system will create that reality for you. So let's say that you have decided or been kind of picked up from reading enough things on the internet, LinkedIn or wherever where you might read about businessy things. You've read enough things that say it's harder to work when you're at home. So you sort of start buying into that story, really, and you begin to believe it for yourself. Then what happens is you, for some reason, have to work at home one day, and you notice every little bit of you not being productive with the understanding or with the belief that it's because you're at home. Now, and then you get the next day you get to work in the office space that you like to work in, a co-working space or whatever, back in the office, whatever it is. And that day you think, oh, I'm super, super productive. I've not been procrastinating. I've not got distracted. I've got loads and loads of stuff done. and your and that illusion is being created because as soon as you believe something to be true, as soon as you have a belief, and of course, not all our beliefs are conscious, some of them are very unconscious, very kind of hidden away. But as soon as you have a belief about something, the way you then experience the world is created by something called confirmation bias. So it's confirmation, it's confirming the belief that you have. And what sort of happens is a filtering process, really. So you don't see, none of us ever see the truth of what is there. We just don't. That's just not possible because there are so many bits of information, millions of bits of information that that you could be aware of about you, about the world, about all sorts of different things. And well, about your experience, about what you actually experience in the world. There's millions of things that you could be noticing, be experiencing through your senses, be hearing, be seeing, whatever. There's millions of bits of things, but your system can only really process 50 bits of information a second. It can't process them. And I'm quite amazed that it processes 50. It just shows, doesn't it, that there is a miracle functioning inside us. Sorry, I've got something in my eye. Um, and so the system by which the process by which your system deletes, I quite like the NLP phrase, delete, distort, and generalize. There's a lot of deleting going on. There's an awful lot of information that you can't see. And then there's a distortion of what you do actually experience, and it makes the thing that reinforces the belief kind of bigger and more prominent in your awareness, and the things that don't confirm your belief get kind of fizzled out, really, and you don't really experience them. And then your perception is that you've had a not so good day. And also what that might do is kind of take the edge off your willingness to to go all in when you're working at home, because you've already decided that you're a bit rubbish at it and you're not productive when you're working at home, and you need to be in an office space in order to be productive. Um, the the there's a caveat to this in that, in the text that I put out with this, I put, "Well, if somebody's actually sitting on your chest, you can't get things done." Clearly, if there are actual physical things going on in your home, so if there is, somebody who keeps banging on the door and opening it and distracting you every 5 seconds, then clearly that's gonna have an impact. But just the idea that you moving from one space to another, because let's face it, office spaces can also be extremely distracting, can't they? In terms of who might be coming and going and who might want to chat at the water cooler, or who might come to your desk and ask a question. Um, I know, like, practically my fiance gets more done at home just because there's not somebody coming in every 5 minutes to ask him a question about something. So that's really helpful. Um, and but so there might be some physical things going on that reduce your productivity in one space or another. And that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about here is your state of mind, is how productive you think you feel when you're in one or other of those environments. The idea that you cannot be as productive at home. I mean, as soon as you think that, everything you do that day will be tainted with that. And you may well do less because you are tainted with that, or you may well just perceive that you've done less. I do really think, with my journey with procrastination and motivation and trying to be more productive, that I the perception of me was off. I don't know, because you can't know, because you can only perceive the world through your lens, through your conditioning. You don't have any other way to perceive the world. You can't suddenly ascend your conditioning and begin to see the world in a completely different way. You can do that over time. That's absolutely where I'm pointing to. It doesn't just happen instantaneously. But for me, I don't know if I'm more productive or not now, but there's certainly a very different way. I seem to get more done, and there's certainly a very different way that I perceive myself as productive. Like I before I would have not called myself a very productive person. I would have had a lot of downers on myself about that. And now I don't really, I would call myself pretty productive. I feel like I get a lot done in a day. And whether I get more or less done than I did before is almost irrelevant really, because it's all all an illusion anyways. It's like, does it really matter? Because it's all made up, and it's all an illusion. So what I'm really saying today about simple productivity from home is that you don't have to do lots of things. You might be thinking, well, when I work at home, I've got to put all these different things in place to make myself be productive. When actually you don't really need to do that. What I'm encouraging is an awareness of the story, because actually the story is the creation of your reality. The story of I'm more productive at home, or I'm less productive in the office, or whatever. This doesn't really matter whether it's about home. Some people really say, I am more productive at home, because the office is distracting or whatever. And that's different. That practical level stuff is different. If that you are continually interrupted at work, then clearly you're not going to get a lot done. But if the home is better, but it doesn't really matter which one your perception of it is. The thing is to realize whether that is practically there's something going on, or whether it's a story. If you have an office where you can go to and nobody disturbs you, and you can get your head down and work, and you have a similar situation at home, but you perceive that you're not as productive at home, that's where the space is to get curious, because there's a story there of your ability or not ability to be productive. And I have to say, like, I used to keep trying to go out places and escape and go to, it was another tool, another way to make myself more productive. And now I stay at home. I save a fortune in coffee, because I have a lovely fiance who just makes me cups of tea. Well, I make cups of tea too, but I have everything I need here. I don't need to go anywhere to try and make myself more productive. And it doesn't mean I don't get out of the house, go to meetings and do things, but this is my space. I've got everything I need here, and I can work just as well when I'm out in Trevor as well. If you don't know already, Trevor is the motorhome who we're often pottering around in. You notice a different background if you're watching this when I'm actually in Trevor, but I'm at home at the moment. So it's really, really an interesting place to explore. It's all about watching out for the stories and the awareness of the stories. I'm like this, or I'm like that in this situation. But wherever you're saying it's the outside circumstances that are making you be a particular way, when there isn't practically anything really there, then that's the place to get curious. So hope that's helpful. Hope that helps you to have a really super lovely, productive day. Take care, and lots of love. Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Claire Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.